What's going on, everybody? This is Tanner Lee of the Kicking Out Podcast, and I am super pumped to have with me this evening Dave Hancock. He does the social media posting for the AdFreeShows. You know all the popular podcasts that are on AdFreeShows. Dave, how's it going this evening?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, thanks for taking time to chat some wrestling with me.
Yeah, of course. Always up for talking wrestling.
Right? I mean, man, what a time to be a wrestling fan right now.
It's crazy. There hasn't been a hotter period in wrestling since the late 90s.
Yeah, it's since the Attitude Era, since the Monday Night Wars. I mean, I was talking to a few people the other day, some of my buddies, that they're not really into wrestling, but they even see what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if you have a presence on Twitter, I feel like you're going to come across something trending. I mean, look at GCW last night, trending with Cardona against Gage.
That was a huge thing for them. That was probably one of the hottest angles of the year, Cardona and Gage, and they did it well. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that storyline furthers.
Oh yeah, I'm pumped to see that. I mean, it was awesome to see those guys trending right there, along with the Olympics.
Yeah,
I mean, who would have thought a year ago that Matt Cardona and Nick Gage would be trending with the Olympics?
Yeah, the Olympics, UFC, they were beating all of it. It was crazy.
Yeah. What a scene that was in Atlantic City last night. Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see where that goes. But love the backdrop you have on there. You got the Attitude Era belt. You got Stone Cold there. What made you get into wrestling, or when did you get into wrestling, and who have been some of your favorites to watch throughout the years?
I got into wrestling probably about the age of 12, 13. I didn't have cable as a young kid, so I wasn't exposed to it that way. I live in northern Indiana, just outside of South Bend, so occasionally WWF would run a house show at Notre Dame, but I mean, they haven't ran in Notre Dame since '99 now. Yeah, I didn't have that much of exposure until my neighbor got cable. And yeah, I was 12, 13 years old. And man, I just got instantly hooked. It was right when Austin was at his hottest, and Goldberg won the U.S. title and then won the World Heavyweight Championship in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome. And man, I got the sickness from there.
Oh yeah, I think that like we mentioned earlier, that was the best time to be a pro wrestling fan. The Monday Night Wars, I was the same way. That's when I got into it, and I didn't really have a favorite. I watched both.
Yeah.
Nitro and Raw, and I watched Thunder, and then I watched SmackDown. I didn't care. I couldn't get enough.
Yep, my neighbors got sick of me, I think, because I'd be running over their house to watch cable. But luckily they were huge wrestling fans too, and they got me into it. And yeah, I guess the rest is history as far as that. Now it's all encompassing in my life.
Were you ECW guy at all?
A little bit further into my teens, a bit. It would come over the air on our local ABC affiliate, but at like 2 a.m. on a Saturday night. And it was like a feed from Chicago or something. So I got a little exposure to it, not a lot. But I've come to absolutely love ECW.
Yeah, that's something I'm kind of the same way. I never really was exposed. I mean, I was pretty young even when ECW's dying days. But the older I've got, and particularly the One Night Stand pay-per-view that WWE did in 2005 and then One Night Stand 2 in 2006, that really got me more into ECW and, checking out the old highlights and everything.
Yeah, One Night Stand 2005 is chef's kiss.
Yeah, that crowd, so hot, so perfect. And even the number 2 crowd with Rob Van Dam and Cena in the main event, that was a pretty hot crowd too.
Absolutely. I haven't been to Hammerstein Ballroom for a show yet. That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. What is your bucket list of places you would like to see, some venues you'd like to see wrestling at?
I've been extremely fortunate the last couple of years to be able to travel a lot and see a lot of wrestling. So I was able to check off a lot of my bucket list venues pretty quickly. I would still love to see AAA and Triple Mania at the arena in Mexico City. That would be huge. Hammerstein Ballroom in New York. Maybe the O2 Arena or something in London. I'd love to see a European crowd for a big show. But I've been to Korakuen Hall. I've been to the Tokyo Dome. I've been to Madison Square Garden. I've been really fortunate to check off a lot of those things.
Yeah. Have you been to the Cow Palace?
I have not. That's another one. Cow Palace. What else? The Sportatorium, stuff like that.
That'd be cool.
Things from history that really have a lot of significance. Mid-South Coliseum, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, it would, for sure. Have you been to any WrestleManias?
I have. My first WrestleMania in person was Mania 23 in Detroit.
Okay.
Since that was kind of local to me, about a 3.5, 4 hour drive. And I've been to a few WrestleManias in the last few years. I didn't get to go this past year, and then obviously last year with COVID, but
sure.
Yeah, subsequent ones for the last few years I've been.
Perfect. Yeah, that's something on my bucket list. I haven't went to a Mania yet, but as a fellow guy who's living in Indiana, I would love for them to come to Lucas Oil sometime, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's nice enough. I just don't know if it's a big enough venue for them to hold it. I don't know, because it's not as big as Ford Field or anything, but
yeah, I mean, I think they could pull it off. I mean, it's an indoor stadium with retractable roof that they could easily pack. I mean, with floor seats and stuff, they could get 70,000 people in there.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Baker's Life field house next, not far, but that's where you can run your Raw and SmackDown and Hall of Fame and convention center for the what is
Fan Fest or the Fan Access,
and all that. Yeah, I mean, it's easily doable in Indianapolis. I hope they do.
Yeah, I mean, they had a great Mania there years and years ago. So I don't know. It's odd to me. It's never really come up in conversation. Seems like it's never on one of the locations they're thinking about. But
cold
maybe
weather is not, I'm not fond of it. But
no. But
you got a dome. It's all right.
Yeah. They did Detroit, like you said, so they can do it. They can do Indy.
Yeah.
So like I said at the beginning of the interview, AdFreeShows. You do the posting for social media. How did that come about for you, and how did you meet the Podfather, Conrad Thompson?
Conrad is truly one of my best friends. I've been very blessed to have him in my life. We became friends, a small group of us, through the championship belt collecting hobby. Obviously, his collection's a little more valuable than any of ours, but
just a
little bit. And then from there, we all got together at the then NWA Legends Fan Fest in Charlotte, North Carolina, a few years ago. And he was just starting Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. And from there, it just kind of kicked off. That was the only podcast he was doing at the time. The Ric Flair show had kind of died out. But Something to Wrestle was taking off, and he kind of couldn't keep up with it by himself. It was just like lightning in a bottle. And he liked what I did with my own personal social media, and he asked me if I'd be interested in helping out, and the rest is history.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you were saying your own personal social media. Now, were you into podcasting or anything, or just strictly your own social media?
Just my own personal Twitter account. Awesome. I'm a wrestling fan. I like to engage with people and, a little sarcastic posts and make jokes every once in a while, but nothing too insulting or anything. And
sure.
I mean, it's all about culture and the vibe that you put out for people. And if you are engaging and have fun, then people are going to feel invested and give it right back.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, I see so much negativity out there on wrestling social media, but social media can be used for great things.
Absolutely.
Just unfortunately, a lot of people use it to pick fights and you like AEW, I like WWE, we can't get along and things like that. It's like we mentioned earlier, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. Let's just all enjoy it, and who cares what people like? Everybody's entitled to what they like.
Tribalism and picking sides in life as it is. You don't need to be doing that with wrestling.
100%.
There's enough pieces of the pie for everyone out there.
Yeah, 100%. And so, have you been down to the Conradison then?
I have.
You have?
A few times.
Yep.
It's It's a very palatial estate.
I can imagine just from the stories I hear on all the podcasts and the little glimpse I saw on Dark Side of the Ring, or not Dark Side of the Ring, but the hunting show. I can't remember the title of it. WWE.
Oh, the Hidden Treasures.
Hidden Treasures. Thank you. Yes, Hidden Treasures. Yeah, not Dark Side. I don't know why Dark Side came into my mind, but yeah, the Hidden Treasures show when he got the butterfly robe of Rick's, that was neat to see a little bit of his collection.
Yeah, he's definitely got what the makings of a museum. It's
yeah.
The Conrad Addison is something else, but what happens at the Conrad Addison stays at the Conrad Addison.
Absolutely. I would not try to get you to just tell us any secrets. So you got into belt collecting. Is how many belts do you own?
Oh, wow. Over 24, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I just finished my new basement office in the last couple of months, and it's still coming together, trying to put my belts on display. But yeah, it's a really fun hobby. A lot of hardcore fans in the hobby.
Oh yeah,
but a lot of great guys that love wrestling history and camaraderie, and it's brought me the very best friends I've ever had in my life. There's a very small crew of us that Conrad calls the Sad News Bears. It's a small little group chat that we got, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I love about the wrestling community. We can all bond over our love of wrestling and build lifelong friendships.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's your favorite title of all time?
Favorite title? Man, it's right up there with the Big Eagle and the Big Gold. Yeah. Those are it. I mean, but those were the two titles that were synonymous with my childhood.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. I think the Big Eagle is the one. I mean, right away when I think about it, I think of Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H. Just right away. Just so many good memories.
Yep.
So many good memories. So when it comes to posting on AdFreeShows, what's the process that goes into making a social media post usually?
Well, Evan Polisher is our account manager for AdFreeShows itself. That entity for our members and stuff like that, while I handle social media for the individual podcasts, and I will contribute to AdFreeShows every now and then, those accounts. But it's all about listening to the customer, listening to the listener, what they want, what you think they want to hear, what can be engaging. We've recently started mainly in the afternoons and evenings when people are more active on social media. I'll throw out like this day in history posts and relate it to previous shows we've done on that specific podcast. So like yesterday was the anniversary of Sherry Martel, and maybe it was Wendy Richter. No, Sherry Martel and Fabulous Moolah. Sherry Martel won the WWF Women's Championship, and you wouldn't think that's a maybe necessarily big deal in 2021, but it's something to relate to and talk about from something to wrestle and put it out there and show people or let them listen to a clip that they might not have heard from a show that broadcast 2 years ago. So it's all about engaging current fans and trying to attract other fans, lapsed fans like that you had mentioned earlier, that might not have or might not be engaged in the product now, and they don't like wrestling now, and they haven't watched it in 20 years. But we can provide them that content from 20 years, 30 years ago that they loved.
Exactly. Yeah, you get the nostalgia effect a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. There's a lot of wrestling fans still out there that might not watch today. They're not watching Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, or whatever. But if you're talking Raw from 1999 or Jim Crockett Promotions from 1986, they are into it.
Yeah, and I feel like if you were a wrestling fan at one time or another, one of these podcasts out of the Ad Free Show podcast is gonna stick with you. It's gonna hit what you're looking for.
Yeah, there's a little something for everybody. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of pieces to the pie. If you're a wrestling fan and you enjoy wrestling at all, there's something in 2021 for everybody.
Absolutely.
The NWA is a throwback if you're into that stuff. If you're into hardcore stuff, there's GCW. If you're into young stars and up and comers, there's AEW. There's established stars and names that you would know from 20 years ago, 15 years ago in WWE, and they're bringing up new people with NXT. And there's something for everyone, and with ad-free shows, we try to do that too, where like What Happened When has been focused on a whole run of 1986 NWA. That's all they've been talking about for months, and it caused a resurgence in our listenership because Tony Schiavone is the voice of a lot of people's childhoods, and they love hearing from a guy who is there and lived it. And that's the attraction with Something to Wrestle. That's the attraction with 83 Weeks and so on. And then recently we've brought on Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett to maybe not have the executive side that we've had with Bruce and Eric, but now we're hearing from the talents and with Jeff, the executive side. It's a whole other dynamic, and it's been appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, I love those two new additions. I mean, I listened to all the ad-free shows, but I gotta admit, I wasn't sure what to expect with Jeff Jarrett's.
Yeah,
but it might be my favorite one. It's good.
That is probably the most feedback I get on social media, especially for the last couple of months, that Jeff Jarrett's podcast was a sleeper. People didn't, they weren't a fan of his when he was wrestling, and, he can't draw money. He can break 100 guitars and not draw a dime, that sort of thing. But man, the guy was there for everything, and he has a wealth of knowledge, and his memory is intact, and he can get into those minute details that people love and get into the weeds. And it's changed people's opinions of Double J like that. It's been amazing to see.
Oh yeah, I'm one of them. I'll admit it. I'm one of them. I mean, I've loved the stories of how he began TNA. Of course, when he held up Vince, the Bash at the Beach with Hogan. I thought that was fabulous. That was really intriguing. But then Kurt Angle, I've liked too how he's incorporated some interviewing Randy Orton, interviewing Edge recently. I thought those were really good too, because you can tell how everybody respects Kurt so much.
Yeah, that's a new avenue that we've taken with the podcast. It used to be just one-on-one, no guests needed, that sort of deal. That was actually one of the catchphrases for Something to Wrestle a long time ago. No guests needed. But with Kurt, whether he's with Conrad or if Conrad's on vacation or something, and our buddy Paul Bromwell is filling in, Kurt loves especially talking with guys that he's worked with and sharing those road stories and that camaraderie, and it comes out whether whoever the host is. I mean, Kurt's the focal point, and when he's able to talk about the times that he's had with the people he's had it with, it's super entertaining, and people love it. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's been a natural fit to the Ad-Free Shows family, so to speak. And really, I just love each show. Each show's different in its own way, but yet Conrad, he's the pro's pro. Yeah. I mean, the guy does his research on like any podcast host I've ever heard. And that's what intrigues me to all his podcasts. He's so good at what he does.
I don't know how he finds enough hours in the day. He's always telling me it's about time management. I've got 2 kids and I work for him, and I feel like I don't have enough hours in the day, but he's still running a big business and has 7 podcasts that come out every day. And then our specials that come out on ad-free shows with our, we'll have meet and greets and questions. And I mean, I truly don't know how he does it, but somehow he does.
Yeah. You need to talk him into getting a meet and greet up here in Indiana sometime.
We're trying.
Okay.
COVID has really thrown a wrench into it. He's even said on the podcast stuff, if anything's around Hancock, we're not doing it. So, but we're close to the Chicago market, so I think it's possible that we can do something in the future, maybe in South Bend with like a Black Label Pro, and have a live podcast to go after it and make it like a doubleheader type thing. We'll see.
That'd be neat. That'd be neat. But speaking of Chicago, All Out's going to be in Chicago
Yeah,
here coming up. I want to say next month, but this is still July, I guess. So coming up in early September. I'm really looking forward to that show. I'm sure you're really looking forward to that show. Will you be in attendance there?
I hope so.
Hope so.
We are going to be in town. We're doing a small weekend get together for our top guys subscribers for AdFreeShows.com. If you've subscribed for a certain amount of months, part of your subscription and one of the perks is Top Guy Weekend. You get to come hang out with the guys, and we'll have small one-on-one sessions or Q&As. You can ask questions that you can't hear stories on the podcast because they're too risque or whatever. I mean, the guys shoot a lot on the podcast, but there's some stuff that you can't record.
Sure.
So we'll be doing that. No StarCast this year, so that that's a different animal, and that changes things. But I think it'll be a really fun weekend.
Now, is this no StarCast still related to COVID, or just?
Yeah, it's partially due to COVID. I mean, things have relaxed in the last 3 months or whatever, but there's so much planning that goes into a StarCast,
Sure.
and booking travel for talent, and international talent can't always fly still. I mean, Canada and Europe just opened like this week for international travel. So that really affects a lot of fans, talent, stuff like that. So we're hoping to come back next year. Fingers crossed. There's nothing on the calendar yet, but we'll see. I say we love doing them, but after every StarCast, Conrad's like, I'm not doing another one. It's not happening.
I can imagine just the stress and planning and everything that goes into it. You're looking forward to it, but yeah, it's a relief when it's over.
Yeah, big time. They are long days. I mean, working 20 plus hours a day during StarCast week, both in preparation before and during. We'll have staff meetings before and after, and what went right that day and what went wrong. What can we prepare for? What haven't we thought of? There's a lot of planning and detailing that go into a StarCast behind the scenes, and we don't have a big staff when we do it. A lot of people don't realize it. There's only a handful of us. So, but it's really special. That first StarCast was, I'll never forget it. That was a really special time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, when you guys did that first one, did you imagine there was going to be a second, a third?
No, it was a one-off. And we were just doing it. I mean, Conrad's spoken about it. That NWA Legends Fan Fest that got all of us boys together kind of went away. The promoter just stopped doing them. And we were looking for an excuse to get together because, like I said, a small group of guys of us were from all over the country. Indiana, Alabama, Connecticut, New York, North Carolina, you name it. So really, we were just looking for a reason to get together and hang out and talk wrestling. And it became, how can we tie this into the podcast? And then how can we tie this into current wrestling and past wrestling? And what did we like out of our conventions that we've been to? And what could we do different? Because what would we want to have out of a convention? And that's what spurred StarCast. What would we want to see out of a convention? And it ended up happening.
Yeah, it sounds like just a perfect event for all the fans, and I love what went into your thought process. What would you guys like to see if you were attending? That's perfect. That's perfect planning.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was, what can we do that's more than just meet and greets? What can we do different to bring people in, and what would they enjoy? And the feedback has always been really positive.
Yeah, I've heard unbelievable feedback from everybody that's been lucky enough to have attended one of those in the past. So hopefully next year you can get them going again. So going back to the ad-free shows, the lineup, have you met all the guys?
Most of them.
Most of them.
I've yet to meet Kurt in person. We've exchanged texts and we've talked and stuff since I do the social media.
Mm-hmm.
I've met Jeff a number of times. Bruce has met my kids. I mean, Tony's a slap dick and he'll disassociate anyone. But yeah, he's a great guy. I've met pretty much everyone. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And so when it comes to, and I kind of hit on this earlier, but I'm going to rephrase the question a little bit. When it comes to all of the posting for these guys' shows, how much input do they have on what goes on there?
Quite a bit. Um, we'll text frequently with the
Hmm.
guys. Some are more communicative than others,
Sure.
but some are more direct about, hey, this is the sort of stuff I want, or like in Jeff Jarrett's case, I'll text him and I'll say, hey, this is the idea I have for the account. This is the kind of mood I want to set. Like putting out silly gifs of him smashing a guitar over Beetlejuice or something
Oh,
to
that's great.
associate with a certain moment in time on TV, and he'll either give the thumbs up or thumbs down and tell me he loves it or whatever. And it, the guys are extremely positive, and it's a great teamwork atmosphere that they give and take as much as we do.
Well, and I've heard a lot of the guys talk about, especially JR. He didn't know how he would like doing a podcast at first, but it's
Yeah,
come to something he loves sitting down every week with Conrad and just talking about the topic of the week.
yeah, and that's another podcast that has seen a resurgence lately, and it's been really really fun to be a part of. I'm super fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, AdFreeShows. It's amazing to see the growth, and I mean, most of the podcasts have been consistently top 10, and then the wrestling related podcasts on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, it's been exploding. We're the number one wrestling platform on Patreon with AdFreeShows. We're in like the top 20 of all
Hmm.
Patreon platforms or accounts, which is nuts considering everything that's out there. It just proves that if people say ratings are down for certain shows and wrestling's dying and blah blah blah, that could not be further from the truth. You're either
Right.
if you give people a reason to be engaged and spend their money, and you give them quality content, they'll come to you.
Well said. And speak on the Patreon a little bit. If somebody's listening to this and wants to become a Patreon to AdFreeShows, how can they do so?
Yeah, just visit adfreeshows.com. We have various membership levels. The lowest is for $9 a month, and for that you don't get any advertisements on the podcast, and you get them earlier before they're pushed out on the public feed. And then we have higher tiers, but they all include benefits, and it's more than just podcasts. You can chat with these guys in real time. Like we'll set up certain special Zoom sessions, and you and a handful of people are engaging in one-on-one Q&A sessions with these guys. We'll bring in special guests like from AEW or WWE or whatever, and they'll hang out and talk to you for a while. We do, now that COVID's lifted, we're doing individual, or not individual, but in-person events, and you get merch, and there's a lot of benefits, and we try to make it not only worth your dollar, but exceed your expectations and make you
Yeah,
feel like you're getting more than your money's worth.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think you guys do a great job at that.
Thank you.
And being a podcast, the Kicking Out podcast that we cover AEW on a weekly basis, I gotta ask a few AEW questions.
Sure.
Um, if you had to make a prediction right now by the end of 2021, who do you think holds the World Heavyweight Championship, the TNT title, the women's title, and the tag team titles? Just your gut feeling. I always ask people about this. So.
Wow. There's what I think will happen, and then there's what I
Yep.
hope will happen.
Okay.
I hope that Hangman Page has the World Heavyweight Championship for AEW going into 2022. I think Kenny keeps it, just because this relationship with New Japan keeps furthering,
Mm-hmm.
and the Forbidden Door stuff keeps happening, and there's been bad blood between the two companies, New Japan and AEW,
Sure.
in the past, but obviously that's thawing out, and they're promoting and showing not only matches of New Japan sanctioned matches on their programming, but they're actually promoting like Bullet Club members and showing the shirts and using the
Mm-hmm.
hashtags and stuff on their broadcast. I don't know anything definitively and don't read into it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say there's something going on between those two companies, because no one's going to be doing that for free if there's nothing in it for them.
Well, and like I saw somebody mention on Twitter the other day, I mean, the IWGP US title just changed hands on AEW programming. I mean, just think about that for a second.
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah.
From when AEW started and all the news and conjecture of that relationship between those guys and New Japan, think about where things were then, and then think about where things are now, and it's bonkers. So I think Kenny goes into maybe Wrestle Kingdom in 2022 at the very beginning of the year as AEW champion, and there's some sort of AEW New Japan clash, and these other companies are involved, and yeah, like we said earlier, it's a hot time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to get some type of super show sometime. I don't know when, but I think it's coming.
I think that's happening. I think they're going to play with that. I mean, Impact advertised that Bound for Glory is going to include Impact, AEW, AAA, and then New Japan's running their show just in the next month or two in LA, and something tells me there's going to be some sort of AEW elite engagement in that with Bullet Club.
I think that's probably a pretty good guess.
Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, why would they be advertising Bullet Club and Good Brothers, and are they the real elite? Are they really Bullet Club and all that? Yeah, there's something.
Yep, something brewing. So how about the other titles, the TNT, the women's, and the tag titles?
Sure. TNT, I don't think that Darby needs that belt right now, Darby Allin, just because he's so popular with people.
He's over.
He's super over. I think Miro keeps that belt, and he gets elevated to the super monster status that he has through and up into 2022 to build him up for that main belt division, if that makes sense. Make him into the monster that everyone expected him to be. But
I think, I agree with. I love what they've done with Miro in 2021 so far. It's what I wanted them to do with him when he came into the company, but it took a little while to get there. I won't rehash it. I've covered that enough on our podcast. But I think the guy I would like to see take it off Miro eventually is Jungle Boy.
Oh, okay. I can see that. I could see Jungle Boy, and I could see Andrade, hopefully.
Yeah.
They've fumbled with Andrade, in my opinion, since he came in, but I think that he's got enough stature and international recognition that he can, still be in the good graces of fans and regain his traction. I would like to see him use that TNT title, that secondary title, and take it to AAA and take it to New Japan with Los Ingobernables. But yeah, that would be interesting.
That's a good call. I like that.
The tag belts.
This is probably the toughest one because there's so many quality tag teams in AEW. I mean,
yeah, I love FTR. Those guys are amazing. I love them. And the Bucks don't necessarily need those belts, but for the purposes of this Forbidden Door stuff and the Bullet Club storylines that are going on, and there's a lot happening there. I think they hold on to those belts until the turn of the year.
Okay.
As for the women's division, man, Britt Baker is one of the hottest talents in wrestling. Period. Not just AEW, but in wrestling. She's amazing. I'd like to see her keep it until the first of the year, or until beyond the first of the year. Nyla's great. Really enjoy Nyla. But who knows? There might be some ladies that have been freed up or not have wrestled in a while.
Could
be coming over and sticking their toes in that water. So we'll see.
Yeah, I just hope Britt can stay healthy. I saw it was reported that has a broken wrist, but she's not going to take time off. So
yeah, she worked that match with Nyla from Dynamite with a broken wrist. God bless her. But
Yeah, I couldn't tell watching it. I couldn't tell that she had a broken wrist. So I mean, she is. But yeah, you talk about somebody from the introduction of AEW to where she is now. It's unbelievable to see her growth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, she's one of the hottest acts in wrestling, not just AEW.
To see how she's progressed since coming into the company has been fantastic.
Yeah, it has.
She truly does have a relationship, a great friendship with Tony, and her interviews with Tony have been incredibly entertaining. And having Rebel/Reba at her side as the sidekick, it's been great TV. I really enjoy it.
Oh yeah, it's she's always one of my favorite parts of Dynamite every week when she's on. So whether it's backstage or cutting great promo on the mic or wrestling a fabulous match. I mean, I was so excited this week that Thunder Rosa finally became All Elite.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that rubber match eventually between those two.
Absolutely, and also not to forget about Rebel. She's a regular with AdFreeShows for Rebel's Happy Hour.
Absolutely. Yep.
So she's a regular for us. You can hang out with Rebel and other guests that she brings on. She brought in Britt. She's brought in other people. So that's another reason to subscribe.
There you go. And one last AEW question I want to ask before I let you go is,
Sure.
what are your thoughts or anticipations for Rampage? It's coming up on August 13th.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. That's going to be fun. I want to know, or I want to see what they do with it. I think it's going to be their answer to, SmackDown and Raw, with using Dark as their developmental, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're younger talent that are just trying to cut their teeth, or working with a vet like, Dustin Rhodes or something, getting some time in the squared circle. But yeah, working those weekend shows, or those blocks that they have scheduled now where they're working the same city for both shows is going to be interesting to see the carryover and continuity between those two shows. I'm looking forward to it. It'll give more people extra time to show their skills.
Right. And I mean, then you got a huge lineup of Friday Night Wrestling you can watch every week. You got SmackDown, then you got Rampage, and then you got ROH. At least I know in Indiana it's on Fox at 11. I don't know if that's nationwide or not at the same time, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be great.
Yeah, there's so much wrestling available to people.
There is.
Like I said earlier, if you're complaining about wrestling in 2021, you've got issues, because if you dig a particular kind of wrestling, it's out there for you. It's on you to look for it.
Yep, that's well said. There's never been an abundance of wrestling like we see right now in 2021. It's available anywhere and everywhere, internet, cable,
every day of the
mobile,
week.
Wherever. Yep, every day.
And it's so accessible. That's the great thing about it.
Yep. So, Dave, I appreciate your time this evening. Anything else you'd like to plug real quick? And where can the people find you on the socials and all of your other accounts?
Sure. Just plug AdFreeShows.com. Give us a try. Give us a month try if you want to try it and see if you like it. If you don't, no harm, no foul. We have contests, like, even not necessarily contests, but tonight, if you want to see or get ad-free shows for the remainder of the month, shoot us a direct message on AdFreeShows, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and we'll take care of you. See if you like it and if you dig it. And if you don't, let us know what we can do to improve. We're very receptive. My personal social, I don't know that anybody would want to follow that. I'm not that interesting, I don't think. But on Twitter, I'm at DHancock110, DHANCOCK 110, and on Instagram, same DHancock984. That was my former badge numbers. I used to be a cop, so.
Oh, perfect! Awesome! Very cool touch there. So, Well, Dave, thanks again for joining us, and look forward to have you back on the show in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Anytime.